Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar hosted by Appraisal Buzz and featuring Cotality and Joel Baker. Joel is going to be demonstrating total and total for mobile and all of the UAD 3.6 capabilities there. I'm really excited to see what he has to say. I'm going to tell the folks here in the room, if you don't mind, just pop in where you're from in the chat. We will have an open chat, a public chat on this webinar, which means everybody can see everything that everybody else types. If you decide you need to be snarky or mean, we will probably exit you from the room. If you keep your questions legitimate and honest and asking real questions, we'll try to answer as many of them as we can. We got some other folks from Cotality of the Room. Kevin Kelly, Matt Crodel are both here to answer questions in the chat. They may be responding to you. Joel will be answering questions occasionally through the thing. We'll try to leave some time at the end for Joel and me to answer any questions that we didn't get to. Aside from that, I'm going to get out of the way and let Joel take it over.
Hey, Hal, appreciate it, man. Good to see you, buddy. Always a pleasure. So for those that don't know, which may be a handful of you, I am Joel Baker with A La Mode Technologies. Been with the company for a little over a couple of decades now. Been on the road for those good portion of that time since 2004, I think, doing appraisal CE and training with my customers. And we've built a new version of Total for the new UAD 3.6, and we released a new version of it. Well, we have a new update to the new version even from yesterday that our team has fixed some stuff and added some new features to that I want to show and talk about. But we released what we call the Learning Edition all the way back early last fall, and that was to help all of our customers get used to the data set and practice with it, filling out their first few reports. But we now have a full version that we are calling the Launch Edition of Total that I want to show you all today, because you can do in Total and in Total for mobile both. You can do a full UAD 3.6 order to tail. So you can start taking those orders if you are my customer. If you've got any questions, please, obviously, like Hal said, put them into the chat window. I've got a couple of folks from my organization, Mr. Kevin Kelly and Mr. Matt Crodel, who are going to be manning that chat window. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to answer literally thousands of questions myself verbally here, so we want to make sure that we get as many of those answered as we can. Anyway. Please, obviously, feel free to ask away. The goal here is to show you, first and foremost, how to get in and start and use Total and Total for mobile to do a UAD 3.6 order. There are going to be a ton of questions in your brains about, well, what about thing X, Y, or Z, or what do I do in, in case of, ABC scenario. So I want to lead off really quickly. I'm going to do this in very, very succinctly if I can, and show you some of the items that are available to you as resources. So I'm going to turn on my screen here. And while I go through this, I'm also going to start a poll, which will show on your screen here. Let's do this. Is the poll showing up for everybody? Here we go. Anyway, so while y'all are answering the question for the poll there, we'll get back to that in a moment. I want to show you some resources. The page we're showing here is our training page, alamo.com/training. There's a couple of things on here. First of all, we've got a group of folks at a la mode that are specially trained on UAD 3.6. It's a handful of folks from the breadth of our organization. So it's not just like sales reps and techs, but also folks from marketing and our product team as well. And we have been training ourselves as a group to be able to have a deeper knowledge of UAD 3.6 so that you can use us as a resource. And every day at 11 o'clock, every weekday, I should say, at 11 o'clock, excuse me, at 11 o'clock Central Time in particular, we are putting one or two of us, sometimes three or four of us, our butts in a seat in an office hours type scenario. And you can get to that again at alamo.com/training. Every day we get, it's sometimes dozens and dozens of folks in this. Some folks come and ask questions. Some folks come to learn a little bit more about the UAD 3.6 data set itself and ask some really specific and pointed questions. Everybody's welcome, whether you're my customer or not, whether you're taking a UAD 3.6 order now or not. You are welcome to come and just lurk in this office hours. And we cover different things every day and have been for about a month now. So again, you're all welcome to come to this, and you can use this as a resource. Now, we're not technicians, right? So if something is not working right, you need to call tech support. But if you've got a UAD 3.6 question or want to see a piece of it or talk through a scenario, we're there. We'll pull up Appendix F1 and we'll figure out what to do with you. Scrolling on down, we've got a handful of items here, right here on our training page. I've got some free webinars that I'm doing about mobile in particular and Scan to Sketch. I do most of these about once a month, give or take. But also, I am teaching some CE courses. So upcoming later this week, I'm teaching that 7-hour UAD 3.6 course through Appraiser e-learning, 3.5 hours each day on Thursday and Friday, right there in the middle of the day. But also, our a la mode roadshow is going to Orlando here in a week. Hal and I are gonna show up in Disney World and do the dog and pony show. We're gonna teach the first day is gonna be my 7-hour mobile class, and gonna have some new stuff in it for UAD 3.6. Then Hal is also gonna teach on the second day, gonna teach the 7-hour CE course for the Appraiser's Guide to the new URAR. And then a third day, which is where there are some software demonstrations and a deeper dive into some of the pieces of the 3.6 that are not covered in other media. So I'm excited for some of the new things that we're going to be able to do there on that third day. So this is one of our pages. The other page is alamo.com/UAD. And I'm going to call out one thing in particular here. We do have a bunch of information from the GSEs, but the piece that I want everybody to see is this one right here. So earlier, I mentioned that in your brains, as I go through this demonstration, you're going to have questions like, well, what about feature X, Y, or Z? What about quick list? What about sketches? What about total for mobile? What about Spark or Data Master or whatever? I'm going to always refer you back to this document here. This is our timeline, and we have been updating this. So obviously, we, as a software company, we can't just build everything all at once and put it out there, especially when we're working in partnership with the GSEs on their public timeline. We're kind of beholden to provide to our customers as much as we can within the framework of the timeline that the GSEs have given the entire industry. So that means that they're, and this is not just with us, but every one of the software vendors is still going to spend a good deal of energy over the next year building out all the different pieces of the software. And so, again, as we go through this and as I show you how Total works and Total for Mobile works, I will talk sometimes about the timeline that of what we're going to do and in the order that we're going to do it. So our first phase was really right up through the end of the year, where we built not just the desktop software, but also a fully functional mobile application. We built them together at the same time because we knew that mobile was going to be a huge deal for UAD 3.6. I'm going to scroll down here. We are in the middle of phase 2 here. We got some other stuff coming up. Some of this is in flight. So we've got an E&O. Obviously, we've got some real-time validation that runs that you'll see. Those are the red boxes that you'll see on those pieces in the forms that are not done. Some improvements in total for mobile. Some of this is done, some of it's not. But you can click on each item and see a description of what's coming. Okay, so this is phase 2. This is where we are, what we have planned for the next 4 weeks. Then we get into phase 3, right? Okay, I may refer, of course, back to this again. External documentation that you are going to want. I'm going to refer verbally to these all the time, especially Kevin and Matt in the questions when they answer these. I'm going to turn my camera off here. Oops, no, that was wrong. Let me turn my camera off. There we go. And we'll go full screen on this. So this is fanniemae.com/UAD. You can find these documents both on Fannie and Freddie's website. I'm just going to show one here. There are 3 things on 3 documents that you're going to need for UAD right off the bat. The first one is called the UAD Inspection and Reporting Tips document. This document is really, really important. I'm going to refer to this again at the end. I'm going to pull this up, and we'll talk about it at the end because there's a really specific way that I want you to use this document here. I continue to scroll down on this page, way down. There are 2 pieces that you're going to need here. There's the Appendix D1 and Appendix F1. So the Appendix F1 is almost a 400-page PDF reference document that is for every single field, what's required, what's not, and what options are available in the pull downs, and just real guidance, real field by field by field level guidance. This is the replacement for Appendix D, which is what we've been using since 2011. Now, Appendix D1 is actually a response to appraisers asking the GSEs, hey, can you just send me a copy of the new form? Because the answer is no, I can't do that. There is no such thing as a new form. It just doesn't exist. I can't send you a blank copy of a 1004 because there is no more 1004, right? It just changes. It's different. Your SFR, condo, with or without an ADU, with or without a cost approach. If you're going to include the replacement for the 1007, all this kind of stuff, right? It's all negotiable based on the scope of work and what the client wants and what the problem you're solving is, and what features you find on the property, the characteristics and all this kind of stuff. And so, anyway, what the GSEs have done here with Appendix D1 is they've given you over a dozen example files, like 5 just for single family, 2 for condo, 2 manufactured, a co-op, a condop, a couple of 2 to 4s here on this. So again, we're going to be referring specifically in our answers to Appendix F1. I will refer to this document pretty consistently throughout my presentation inside of Total. Okay, so these are all the bits and pieces you can find on Fannie and Freddie's website, and of course that you can find on our pages, the training page or alamo.com/UAD. So let's get into the meat of this. How do we start a new UAD 3.6 report in Total? A lot of you, when you found out that you could do this, you probably started a new report and went into contents and searched for 3.6 or something, right? Started looking in the contents in Total in a new report for the new form. It's not a new form. I know most of us have heard this over and over again for the last couple of years. It's not a new form. It's just not. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Let me pause for just a moment. I'm going to close the poll. Open my screen up here. Looks like 70% of you say haven't attempted one yet. We got to get those numbers. Those are rookie numbers, folks. 70% say haven't done it at all. All right. So let's start a new report. Click the new button at the top. This is how you're going to do a new 3.6. We're going to give it a name. 456 Main Street. Now, rather than just clicking OK or starting it in a 1004 or something here, we're going to answer yes to this question. Is this report UAD 3.6? And you've got some options here. Now, this top one, which is the default, this is the one I really want you to play with. This is the new URAR. This is the one that's replacing your 1004. And it's replacing the 2055 and the 1025 and the 1073 and the 1075 and the 1007 and the 1004C and the 1004MC. Like this, and all the desktops and all of the hybrids, like all of it. It's everything, basically all the big ones that you use on a regular basis, except for the 1004D, which I'm going to talk about. So it's just the one thing for most of the time. This is the big kahuna. This is the new URAR. Now, I said the 1004D was not being replaced by that. That's because the GSEs have taken that 1004D and split it into its component individual report types. Okay, so you've got the update is completely different and is a totally different look than having the completion, and you'll just choose one or the other here in the pull down. So that's how you choose between the three schemas. But the one everybody wants to see, I know, is the URAR. So I'll choose the top one, which is the default. I'll click OK, and it's going to launch this new report inside of Total. Okay. Little bit about navigation really quickly here. So on the right-hand side, you're going to see several things. The summary is the guidance is going to go over here when there's guidance for particular fields or particular sections or particular subsections. This is something that we are actively working on building out and making it a lot better than it is. So it does exist for a lot of sections and subsections, and we've added more actually with the update that we did yesterday. So again, make sure you've got your current update. But in addition to that, there will be places over here on the right-hand side that have no equivalent in the legacy way of doing the forms. So the new form, the new report is dynamic. So you will be able to add rows to tables and all this kind of stuff, as you'll see as I get into this. And every time that I want to add or remove something, I'm going to do that from the right-hand pane. Again, this is new for folks. So when I come to add a room, I'm going to do that with a button that's going to come over here. When I want to add a flood map to the site section, I'm going to do that over here on the side, right? When I want to add something or remove something, I want to take a new photo or whatever, I can come over here and hit the button to add the thing to the report. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is that your report sections over here, this is the structure of your URAR. And it's in the same spot, obviously, that your contents was inside of Total for your 1004 and 2055. But it's not editable here. You'll notice there's no plus or minus. There's no way to click and drag and resequence these things. So this concept of contents and the ability to come in and rearrange things and add things that you need to, you want to add a 1007 to a 1004, you would click the plus sign, right? Or contents and just add it in and put it wherever you want. Well, the rent schedule for this new URAR has to go in a specific place. And so you'll just check a particular box to say, I'm including this in a rent schedule, and it'll just show up. The rent schedule will show up where it's supposed to go. In addition to that, I'm going to show you a handful of places here inside of Total where you're going to turn things on and off for the structure. I want to start there. So place number one, the very first place you're probably going to want to go is the report setup on the left-hand side. This is the topmost thing in the report sections. It doesn't print, but this is a place for you to turn on and off and toggle between some of the main functions in the way that the report is configured. And not the least of which is whether or not this is a single family or a 2 to 4, right? So if I choose multifamily here, now I'm in a 2 to 4, and I've got to fill in some more details. I'm going to keep my example here, just the standard SFR. And then I can choose accessory dwelling unit or outbuilding if one of these exists. So let's say that I have an ADU here. I'm going to click accessory dwelling unit. Notice it puts this line in here for me. I can name it whatever I want to name it. Just name it ADU, or let's say ADU garage. That's an ADU above the garage. I'll use the pull-down menu to select in a detached outbuilding, like so. Now, I can also have an outbuilding in addition to all of that. And again, I do recommend taking the GSE's 7-hour course that you all know how to handle outbuildings. But I'm going to click here to add an outbuilding, and we'll make this one a simple shed. Okay. Lawn equipment storage. Sorry, can't type today. First day with the new hands. All right, now watch on the left-hand side over here, because I've added these things in, right? I've got an outbuilding and I've got an ADU that's a detached outbuilding. So when I hit save, it's going to change the structure of my report. I now have unit interior for the primary dwelling. I've got an outbuilding section, right? For the exterior. I've got the unit interior for the standalone ADU. And then I've got a section for the lawn equipment storage for that shed over here on the side. There are other places to adjust the structure of your report, and it's because it's not just the sections over there on the side, but it's even subsections and line items in the grid and some other places as well. Kathy, yes, it is. We got that as a misspelling. I see that. All right. So another place is if you're working on a condominium, for instance, you would come in here to the subject property section here, and there are some basic checkboxes here. So I would probably check yes for condominium, and I would choose no for homeowner responsible for all exterior maintenance, which is this question here. Doing this by checking yes to condo and no, several things happen throughout the rest of the report in the sections, other sections and subsections. I'm just going to point out a couple of them. First of all, in the dwelling exterior, you'll notice that mechanical system details is right underneath, space-wise, is right underneath the summary. Okay, mechanical system details. If I go back, nope, real quickly. Also in the project information section, condominium is checked here already, obviously, right? And that's because there are different questions in the project than if you were in a PUD. So if I choose PUD, if I go back here and choose PUD, I get a whole different set. Same thing for a co-op. You get different sets of questions, right? I'm going to put this back on condo. All right, so let me go back to the subject property, to these check marks here. Let's say that I'm doing just my standard detached SFR. So I'll choose no for condo, and I'll choose yes for homeowner responsible for exterior maintenance. I'll go into the dwelling exterior, and now my mechanical system details is so far down I have to scroll. And that's because there's an entire subsection here for quality and condition and non-continuous finished areas, if it applies, that are now required because of the answers to the questions previously. One place here in your report that you will notice right away when you start filling out, even when you're practicing, is in the sales comparison grid. I'm going to scroll down. You'll notice that you'll have an entire section here for the interior for the this is the primary structure, right? And this is the ADU, the standalone ADU. You scroll a little bit further down, and even the quality and condition has its own subsection for the ADU itself. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that can go into this. One thing that I do want to point out here, and the reason it's important to take the class and know how the data set really does work. There's a really good emphasis on the way outbuildings are built. So in this case, and I just want to show how this is filled out for appraisers. So if I've got a shed or whatever for lawn equipment storage, or a standalone ADU that's a garage, I'm not going to put anything about that detached garage that is on its own. Let's on level 1, and the ADU's on level 2 of this outbuilding, right? I'm not going to put anything about the garage here. Answers or asks and answers no questions about that garage. However, there's a whole section here for vehicle storage. So this is this in this case would be a garage. There's 2 parking spaces. It's detached, and the storage space is, I'm just going to make up a number like I'm a realtor, 420. And fill this out and take my picture. Really, generally, this vehicle storage is simplistic to fill out, but it is, even though it is the same structure as my ADU, it's not done. It's not done here. It's not done either in the outbuilding details or the unit interior. The vehicle storage stuff is down here. Again, this is just one example of how strange the outbuilding things can get, and I absolutely do recommend that you take the UAD class so that you can focus on this. Not to put too fine a point on it, there is one. There is a single particular example, a single time or exception to the rule that another structure must be an outbuilding, and that is when the only thing in that outbuilding is vehicle storage. You don't need to add another structure for that. You just handle that again in the vehicle storage section here. All right. Let's do another poll here. I'm going to click start polling. See how you guys do on this. What do you think is better about 3.6? I kind of sort of know where this is going to go, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Let's go to the unit interior. So in the current schema of doing like your 1004s and your drive-bys and your 1073s and your 1025s, right? And you can add whatever addenda you want, and you can put whatever page you want in whatever order you want, and you can call a bedroom a main bedroom, or a primary bedroom, or bedroom 3, or bathroom 2, or whatever. In the UAD, and even in your sketches, you probably call like the first floor GLA, you call it first floor GLA or something similar to that in your sketcher. There's no such thing as GLA in a UAD 3.6. It is not called GLA, and there's no such level as basement. These all have particular names. And so you'll have, for instance, level 1 above grade finished, level 1 above grade unfinished, or in the case of a basement, what we used to call basements, you would say level B1 below grade or partially below grade, finished and unfinished areas. So you create your levels based on what exists in the property, obviously. Remember to add items to this table. Like if I need to add a couple of more levels, like for first and second floor, I'll click 2 times over here on the side and I'll say level 1 and then level 2. And we'll do above grade for both of these. And then you can fill all that out as you want to. For the rooms, let's say that I've got some bedrooms. So I'll come in here and I'm just going to add in a whole bunch of new rooms and fill those out. So let's say I've got a bedroom on level 1. I've got a level 2 full bath, level 2 bedroom, level 1. These don't have to be in any order, by the way. The GSCs specify how they want to see it, and it looks not similar to what you're looking at here. They have a very specific way that they want things to display. And let's say that level B1, this is going to be a rec room. Okay. So your kitchens and your baths, both full and half, have other requirements. Notice that you only need to count bedrooms, dens, recreation rooms, that sort of thing. It's your kitchens and your bathrooms that have whether or not it's fully or partially updated, when it was updated, and the condition status. Okay, so you'll fill all of this out. And then when you go to print, we extract this information from your tables here and put it exactly how the GSEs want, because it will look different from report to report. Okay. So your floors and your ceilings. So this is a good example of how the GSEs have split the data set. Your floors, for example, if you've got multiple options, right? If you've got some is carpet, some is hardwood, some is tile, I'm going to go ahead and put hardwood in and say that it's typical wear and tear, but I'm going to click to add some new flooring options. We'll do carpet, which is damaged and functional, and some ceramic tile, which is new or like new, right? So just use the pull downs here. There are some fields where you can do multi-select. So for example, your ceiling style, I could have a combination of cathedral and flat, and my ceiling heights, 2 or more stories, and some are 10 or more feet, and maybe one room is 9 feet. I can put all of these in here, and it combines into that particular field automatically with the spacing and any abbreviations that are syntax that are required here. So this is a good example. Sometimes you have to add rows to do multiple things, and sometimes it's just included within the data set. And of course, Total will help you do that, because that's how we built it. To when you click into the thing, it shows you what's available for you. Another big thing with Total is knowing where pieces are going to actually go. So one of the items is subject property amenities. So you might think that your decks and your porches and your patios and the fact that there's a pool and some other items might go in the dwelling exterior, and you might put your photos there, but that's not the case. With the new Uad 3.6, your porches, your patios, your decks are amenities, and they go in here, including all the photos, and if you find anything wrong with them, okay? So as an example, let's put in a deck. So the deck is wood. There's one of them, and I'm going to pretend I'm a realtor and just make up a number here of 540 square feet. And yes, that's required for some amenities. You do need to actually measure these. I know a lot of you do this, but you do need to draw and you do need to measure and calculate the square footage for your porches and your patios and your decks. That's now a thing in 3.6. So let's say there's also a pool. So I'll click Add Amenity. We'll go to in-ground pool, and it's concrete. There's one of them, and it is heated. Okay, you'll notice square footage is not required for the pool. So again, the software will ask you the appropriate questions for each amenity. You don't have to memorize Appendix F1 here. Let's say that there's something wrong. We've got a problem with the deck or whatever. There's a broken railing or missing railing or something, right? So I'm going to choose Show here for defects, damages, and deficiencies. And this subsection appears all over the place in each of the sections, right? So if there's a defect with the garage, right? If the garage door is broken, you would put that in the vehicle storage section. If there's holes in the wall, that would go in the interior section, right? So each section's got its own place for defects, damages, and deficiencies. What you'll do is you'll select the item that actually has the defect. You'll talk about it here. I'm going to say yes, that it affects structural soundness or integrity, and I'm going to say repair. You'll notice the moment that I do this, I now have a particular spot for that photo. There are oftentimes places when you choose an option in the Uad 3.6 that then another thing is required, like another set of answers, or in this case, a photo is now required. And we're going to prompt you for that right here. We're going to put a new photo slot in it. We're going to name it what it needs to be named, right? And we're going to tell you when you're missing it. And you can literally click browse, or you can drag and drop into this here. So exhibits, by the way, are all over the place. We go to disaster mitigation. I've hopped to disaster mitigation. I'm just going to turn this one on because this is an easy one to show. I'm going to use the mitigation feature pull down menu, and I'm going to say that there's framing, anchoring, or bracing, impact resistant glass, and shingles. I'm checking all three boxes here. Not required to make a comment here, but I do feel like I want to go ahead and put a photo, and I can literally drag and drop a photo right into that spot. So it's not difficult to fill out a 3.6 report necessarily. It's just a matter of knowing where things go, because everything has a spot, right? There's a spot for like broken flashing for something connected through the roof, like for an exhaust vent. Where does that go? Where does a photo for and the data for broken flashing for the roof go? That is going to go in the dwelling exterior. So here for the roof details, I'm going to say yes, that it's observable, that it's a composition shingle here. I'm going to estimate it as 10 to 20 years. And I'm going to say here, damaged and non-functional. Or damaged, let's just say damaged and functional. Then I'll go to show. Nope, wrong one. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to turn on a defect, damages, or deficiencies. I'm going to say show the roof. Yes. Inspection. And notice when I do this, now I have a spot for that the photo for that broken flashing to go. And I can just literally drag it into place. I want somebody to come look at this. A note really quickly about the defects, damages, and deficiencies. Those are collated in a couple of different places. Like I said, they're throughout the report. But if I go to the reconciliation, they are copied from what I have already filled out. So the roof is in here and the deck is in here. And you'll notice when my recommended action is repair, I have the option, it's not a requirement, but I have the option to say what I think the estimated cost to repair is. This is one place where this information is copied. The other place is actually, if I scroll to the top up here, if I go to the summary page, this whole thing is filled out from every other place that I've filled out my report from. Okay. It's all down here at the bottom. So your defects, damages, and deficiencies are copied to the summary. They're in the reconciliation, they're in the summary, and you fill them out, not here. You fill them out on their individual sections, because the data for it and the photo for it, the exhibits and all of that go together and are printed together so that it makes it easier for review. Another way of saying it is, if I've got broken casement windows, rather than make a reviewer do a deep dive in my addenda to find my comment for it, and then have to figure out what page, 20 pages in on whichever photo addenda page to find the photo for it is, instead of that, it's just going to all be in the same place. They're going to be together. The notation that they're broken, the comment about it, and the photo for it are all in the same place. So that's where you're going to take those pieces. All right. One other thing here before I hop over to mobile, because I do want to show mobile to everybody. And this is something that we've actually added in the last 24 hours. Each section has the ability in the sales grid for you to turn particular items on and off. So for instance, the dwelling here, the only item that is required, there's two of them here, year built and heating. But if I come over here and I expand this open to actually show what's available, you can see there's a lot more items that are available in here. So if I want to adjust for colonial versus Mediterranean or whatever, I can do that. If I'm doing a townhome and I want to adjust for the fact that I have one comp that is an end unit and my subject is not on an end unit, and that matters justifiably, I can turn that on. Literally turn that on here and hit save. And now I have that as a line item in my sales grid. Folks, I have seen so many doom and gloom posts on the Facebook groups about how many fields that the GSEs are now requiring. And it's not, I mean, of course they are requiring more, but I have seen appraisers go out and look at what's called Appendix C1 and see all the dozens and dozens and dozens of items that are in each one of these sections and say, look what they want. They want, like volume of, instead of like two-dimensional area, they want building volume. Well, only if it matters. Or they want to know the surface area of all the windows. But again, only if the client wants that, only if it's relevant. And so you've got the ability for most of these fields, most of the time, as to whether or not you're going to include them. Might be something to consider for a template, by the way. All right, so I'm going to close this poll. A little bit of a surprise there for me. I'm going to start another poll here. And I'm also going to launch my iPad. Pull it over onto my screen here. I'm going to minimize all of this if I can. Come back to that PowerPoint momentarily. There we go. So here's my iPad. This is total for mobile. And I'm going to hit the plus sign in the upper right and just start one from scratch. I can't type. EXAMPLE 3. But then down at the bottom, I'm going to choose the option for UAD 3.6 in the form, like so, and just tap create. The first thing you are taken to should look familiar, right? This is what we saw right at the very beginning. This is the report setup, where I toggle between single family and multifamily, whether I add an ADU or an outbuilding, right? The rest of the sections are over here on the side. Now, if you are on a phone as opposed to a tablet interface, you'll only see this piece right here to begin with, and then you'll tap report setup, and you'll see this piece on the side, because obviously your screen is differently shaped and sized. The tablet, we get to lay out as much as we possibly can. Okay. So with mobile, this is one of the pieces, again, you can use right away and do a full inspection on 3.6 here. There are some pieces, just like we have for total, that are not yet complete. So some are I should say complete, that are not yet rebuilt. For instance, we have to teach the sketch, the fact that you can't call things first floor and second floor. We have to teach the sketch that if you're doing a 3.6, you got to call it level 1, above grade, finished or unfinished or whatever, right? And that when you drop a bedroom label into the sketch on level 2, above grade, finished, that it goes into the right place in the table that we saw 15 minutes ago. So it's all got to go in the right places. And there are some things that we're still adding to and working on. And I can answer some questions about those if we get to it here in a little bit. All right. For the moment, let's talk about some of the main pieces. I want to do a wood deck. So let me I have minimized that accidentally. I have my example prepped here. All right. So I'm going to go to subject amenities over here on the left-hand side, and it asks, are there subject amenities? I'm going to say yes. By the way, if I choose no, then I'm immediately done. No porches, patios, decks, pools, whatever. I'm immediately done. And you can see that I'm marked green, both within that section and then over here on the left-hand side as well. But if I do have an amenity, like say I have a deck, I'm going to choose yes. And then I'm going to tap on the amenity here. I'm going to say it's a deck. And now watch what happens. As soon as I say it's a deck, I'm next taken to answering questions about what the materials are. Remember, the software, whether you're on mobile or on the desktop, is going to prompt you for the next questions based on the answers that you've previously given. In this case, I'm going to say wood, and I'm going to give it 430 feet for square footage. I'm also going to say that, yes, there is a defect, damage, or deficiency. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to hit the plus sign here. For the location, I'm going to say broken railing. If it affects structural soundness or integrity, I'm going to say yes on the right. And I'm going to say repair. I'm going to do this the same way we did earlier. And then I'm just going to simply tap on, if I can do this without hitting my microphone, I'm going to just tap where the photo is going to go. I'm having to cheat here with Google Photos. And so now I have taken a photo of that defect. Each of the items that is required, by the way, has this little asterisk on it. And if I forget to do something that's required, it's going to yell at me. It's going to show me in red that I am missing something. But if I've gotten everything in that point or in that screen that I need to, again, I'm going to get green here. And I can back all the way out and see that everything is green, right? Well, let's take, for example, the dwelling exterior section here. Notice that I've got to do each one of these items that is got the little asterisk next to it. If I go into one, like non-continuous finished area, if I go into it and I come back out of it without doing anything or filling everything out, like say I only get part of it, it's going to tell me in red with an exclamation mark here on the side so that I know which piece that I'm missing. So if I go into the thing and I don't completely fill out what's required, it will tell me that I'm missing something. And I back all the way out, or jump to the site section, for instance, I can immediately see that I'm missing the data. The goal of this is that as you go through and do your inspection and you hop between the various sections and you take the photos, Total for Mobile is going to tell you when you think you're done, whether you actually have gathered all the data that you need to. It's going to warn you and say, hey, you're missing this piece. Now, sometimes it's a little overzealous. Like there may be some things that that are not required necessarily here, that are required part of the data set, but that you may do through some other research that you'll do when you get back to the office, right? So it can be a little overzealous, but at least you are prompted with this on your way back to the truck or on your way back to the car to get these items fixed. But so that you don't leave the property having missing data. I know that it's really embarrassing, like when you forget to take a picture of some particular thing that was in the engagement letter, like a carbon monoxide detector or something, right? Or the picture of the HVAC unit. And you got to go back to the homeowner, hat in hand, and say, I need to come back for just a minute and take a picture of whatever thing. That in addition to the time, obviously that's embarrassing. And so I say this because those of you who are new to the UAD 3.6, which is going to be just about everybody in the room, and those of you who are not mobile, you're going to be doing, in my estimation, some rework on your first few inspections, because you're going to likely miss some things that are either required measurements or required photos. Okay. And I'm going to give you a way kind of out of that using a checklist that you can practice with beforehand. I'm going to show that here in just a moment, but I want to say, again, Total for Mobile is designed to keep you from having to do that rework. Okay. I'm going to minimize all of this. And I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint again. So here is a list of recommended things to do between now and your first order. Like I've been saying, take the 7-hour GSE class. Just take it. I teach it. Hal teaches it. Brian Reynolds teaches it. You can take it from AI, McKissick. It's all over the place, and it's the same class. The second thing is I want you to be familiar with how to use Appendix F1. You need to be able to know how to go into this PDF and do Control F to find and search for an answer to a particular question you've got. This is something that I do every single time I've got that office hours, which is something we mentioned earlier. Somebody comes in and asks a question. I very rarely have one of those office hours where I don't have to look something up in Appendix F1, because I just simply cannot memorize those 400 pages. It's just too much. And I know you aren't either. So learn how to use Appendix F1. This third item here is an inspection tips document. I showed at the beginning where this was on Fannie Mae's website. Again, if you go to fanniemae.com/UAD, you scroll down a little bit. Under the announcements, there's this document here, the inspection and reporting tips. I want everybody in this room to go to that page now and print this page off now, like while we're doing this right now. Okay. So again, go to fanniemae.com/UAD, which looks like this. I want you to scroll down to the announcements and click on the October 21st. It really has been that long since this document came out. And click on the link here to open the UAD inspection and reporting tips document. It's 4 pages. It's really only 2, but it's It's 4 pages. Page 3 looks like this at the top. I want you to print page 3. The one that has the blue on the side. This is the inspection tips section. And if you scroll down, you'll see in green the reporting tips section. This is the one I want you to print out. And I want you to take this on the next inspection, 20, 35, whatever inspections that you do. And when you do your normal 1004 or 1073 or 1025 or whatever inspection, or general purpose form, whatever it is, do your legacy inspection. When you get back to the car or truck, I want you to whip this page out and I want you to go through the list of the new items in this document and think in your brain, hey, had this been a UAD 3.6 order, these are the new items that I would have to have either measured or written down for this report. And it's going to get you used to thinking, again, the dozens and dozens of inspections from now, it'll become habit to you to walk into a room and think, okay, the ceiling height is greater than 10 feet. You'll just think it. And that way, when you go to actually do your first UAD inspection, you're less likely to miss something and have to do the rework to measure the bottom of the front door above grade, for instance, or estimate it. Items like that. Okay, this is not comprehensive. It's not everything, but these are the big items. And this is a really great way, I think, to practice in advance. You just do it in your head. Just spend the 3 minutes to go through this list and say, okay, which of these things for this particular property? Because some aren't going to apply, right? So if you're doing a drive-by, the unit interior won't apply. If you're doing an SFR, the manufactured won't apply, unless it's an ADU as a manufactured home, right? Anyway, just I want you to get used to these items here in this list. The final piece, number 4 in my on this particular slide, is to use Total for Mobile to recreate a sample file or 3 from Appendix D1. I showed this again right near the beginning. We're just referring to it now. So this is, again, on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's web pages. I think it would be really great practice for you to literally try and recreate one of their fully filled out appraisal reports. I think it would be great for you to practice on your own home. Okay. And not just once or twice. Do your own home like 10 or 12 times until you're sick of it. You're just putting it in muscle memory. Okay. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention, again, the Dog and Pony Show that Hal and I are doing in Orlando next week. Come see me. I'm doing my mobile class. Some of it will include the new URAR stuff, but the bulk of it is hands-on practice with sketching and using Scan to Sketch in particular. And then, of course, the rest of it, the other 2 days, are UAD 3.6 focused. So come see me in person and get some practice on. Let me hop over here now to get back to, I'm going to stop the sharing here.
Turn your camera on, Joel.
Man, I have completely lost.
There we go.
Did you get me?
Yeah.
All right. I've lost the interface, unfortunately. Anyway, is there a particular question, Hal, that you see that I need to be answering in the chat there?
There are so many questions in the chat function that are really good questions. Unfortunately, I have a meeting I have to get to here in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
So I'm going to bounce and I'll leave it with you. You stay and answer as many as you can or want to. And then Jim Morrison is here to kind of bring us home at the end here. Hey, everybody in the room, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I think this is very informative. And for those of you out there that are commenting on the amount of time this is going to take and how difficult this is going to be, My personal advice is get the software, start using it, practice. I think what you're going to find is, what I found is, it ends up being easier overall after you get used to the new interface. So that's just my 2 cents.
I've got one more. Thanks, Hal. I got one more poll here about the mobile, real quick, for everybody who wants to answer that here. But I'll stick around for a little bit and maybe handle a handful of these questions. Let's see here.
Joel, one of the repeated chat questions we got was that page you were showing on Fannie Mae's website. They said you went a little too quick with that. Can you repeat where that is? I tried to pin it, but I just want to make sure we have the right one.
Oh, sure. Yeah. There are 3 documents on Fannie and Freddie's website. I just managed to demo mine on Fannie. Let's see. Let me go ahead and do the share screen thing again. So this is, again, fanniemae.com/UAD. The 3 items to download are, if I scroll down a little bit, under this announcements here, the second announcement that's in this list right now is this UAD inspection and reporting tips. This is the one, this is the document where I said I want you to print page 3. If you continue to scroll down a little bit further down, quite a ways down, the other 2 documents, which will download automatically for you, are Appendix D1 and Appendix F1.
So, Joel, one of the questions I also see is, how do you use the comps that they weren't pulling this data for these new 3.6? They don't have the elevation for the door and all that. How do you handle that when they don't have that same data on the other comps that you're using?
Well, the elevation for the door isn't an item in the grid.
Okay.
Right. And keep in mind, you may not have all of the data for the comps, but you just need, there are 3. This is such a complex answer because it's the standard appraiser answer, which is it depends. Right. Everything is it depends. Let me pull up total again really quickly here, and I'll jump to just going to pull up one that's a little more filled out. So my 2 to 4 here, let's jump over to the grid. So there are 3 types of fields that show in the sales grids, including the rental. There's fields that always display. There are fields that will display based on the property type and things that the property characteristics that you input, right? So things like whether or not there's an outbuilding, whether or not there's vehicle storage or something, right? I mean, it's always going to depend on what you input. So there's the always display, there's conditional display, and then the bulk of them, most of them are whether or not you determine as the appraiser whether it's relevant. Otherwise, don't include it.
There's been a lot of questions on what does the completed report look like, and that has to do with the XML file, right? Or how?
So you're going to want to, that's a good question. You're going to want to lean into Appendix D1, which is the example files, and it'll download all of those. It's a zip file that contains a whole bunch of zip files, really. So you'll have to extract each one. But the zip files, the individual ones that are in there, if you don't know, the zip files are your deliverable rather than just the XML file. Each time you deliver to the client, it's a zip file now that contains the XML and the PDF and an entire folder dedicated to just the pictures. Like it extracts everything and labels them a particular way. But it's all packaged up in one zip file. And the GSEs literally give you multiple examples of each of the types of reportings that you have, with or without an ADU, with or without a rent schedule, all this kind of stuff.
If they're using a mobile inspection tool, will the square footages transfer automatically into their report?
At the moment, it does not, but it will. Right there are, like I was talking about with when we were on the mobile stuff, we have to teach the sketchers the terminology. Right, there's no such thing as first floor or GLA in the Uad 3.6, and so we're having to rewrite the sketchers to understand what those things are. You know, like I said, instead of first floor GLA, now it's level 1 above grade finished, for example. Right, so we've got to get in there and teach the sketchers how to think in terms of the levels and the areas, the requirements for the 3.6.
Joel, this one's over my head, but I'll ask it. Will they still have to do ENV files?
No, ENV is a completely separate thing than this.
Okay.
I imagine ENV will be a thing for a little while, but it will probably eventually go away, would be my personal guess. Just because there would be no need for it.
Okay. Let me look. There's so many questions. We really appreciate everybody's questions. I did a pop-up for a 30-day free trial, and then as Joel said, he has office hours every week, so you can join and ask these questions there. We really appreciate all the feedback that you guys are giving us. One of the things is about cloning reports. Are you able to do that at all?
Yes, in fact, you can do that right now with the launch edition. It's a simplistic way of thinking about it or doing it. So you'll do it like you're using a Word document or an Excel file. We do have to rebuild the merge feature, the smart merge, and because we can do some new things with it based on the new, the new data set and the new structure and everything. So there's gonna be some cool stuff we'll be able to do that we're planning on doing. But for right now, it literally just is like a Word document. If you build a Word document as a template, you just click File, Save As, and name it whatever you want to name it, and just save it that way, right? And then make a copy of it when you get your next one.
Okay. They asked about, can you only use iPads in the field, or can you use Android devices?
Oh, you can use Android as well. Lee, I see there we've got a lot of folks here with questions. There's literally 2,000 people sign up for this class, man. I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to get to everything, obviously, today. Again, I've got office hours, and I've been doing for a month. So you're welcome to show up to the office hours and ask whatever you want as you go through these. And we've had some questions like, well, what about extra photos or multiple photos or whatever. So like, I saw that a couple of times. So if you've got the dwelling exterior, the dwelling exterior front photo goes here, but in each section you can scroll down and again add an exhibit. So if I want to put in multiple exhibits, I can do that. I can just keep adding photos to the bottom for however many I want. So again, a version of this question was, what about front, rear, and street and side? Well, your dwelling, the items that are available for you here in the dwelling exterior are front and rear. There's not a specific place, by the way, in the 3.6 to put a side. So I would just put it here. I would put it in the dwelling exterior. Just add one and name it side. Like this. Seriously, just add it this way. Because that's not an enumeration that the GSEs put in it. But like if you got a photo of the garage with the driveway, you'll scroll down and you'll go to vehicle storage and you'll put the driveway photo here.
So we have a couple people asking for like a walkthrough video of an inspection. I know you guys are partnering with Axe to do that for trainees, and that's more of a scan to sketch thing in Seattle. And that but is there something along those lines?
Man, you put 1,000 appraisers in a room, there's going to be 3,000 different ways of doing an inspection. And I am not in the business of telling an appraiser how to do an inspection. My job here has really been to show you and point you to a way to practice something, to use what you are currently doing and move the mindset over into the 3.6. So that is, again, specifically why I brought up that inspection tips document and said, I want you to print this piece of paper out now and take it in the field with you now and run through it after every inspection you do, so that you're already thinking about these things. You should get in the mindset of thinking about those things. There is no real wrong way to do it, no wrong way or right way to do an inspection, honestly, tip to tail. There just isn't. You're going to be jumping around and doing things and writing it down over here and taking this picture over there or whatever. And every appraiser is going to do it differently. You do it all differently now anyway. So it's just not functional or pragmatic for me to tell appraisers how to do an inspection. I will just say, use that inspection tips document and fit those data points into what you're already doing right now, whatever your current thing is.
Well, Joel, I don't want to take any more of your time. Is there one more question you wanted to comment on, or?
Man, I'm just going to pick one. I'm going to scroll halfway down in this list and just pick one at random here.
Dartboard questions.
It really is. Some of these we've answered.
While he's looking that up, under the offers tab, you'll see both the offer for a 30-day free trial of Cotality, if you're not already a user, and the UAD 3.6 bootcamp. We'll be seeing Joel in person. That's available via Zoom if you can't get down to Orlando, and we are in the works to finalize the dates and locations for some more in-person events, which I think would be very beneficial.
And again, I'm giving up about 20% of my week to sit in a chair and have appraisers come into a room where I've got my total pulled up and just answer questions and walk through whatever you guys want to ask. So take advantage of that. I hope I don't get a bum rush of like 300 people tomorrow, because that would be unwieldy, but come see me next week or whatever. I don't care. I'm seeing a lot of questions about the sketch here, and I kind of get these from time to time. Do we have to use scan to sketch? Do I have to use LiDAR with 3.6? And the answer is absolutely not. Really, the only thing that's changing for the sketch in particular is that you can't use graph paper and scan the graph paper in and use a picture of graph paper as your sketch. You have to, even if you write it down on your tablet and use graph paper, which you can still do, you need to recreate it in like Apex or Total Sketch or Area Sketch or Rapid Sketch or whatever. You got to recreate it in a Sketcher. You can't scan in graph paper sketches anymore. They won't let you do that. Other than that, it's basically the same thing. But no,
right, well, Joel,
just real quick, but know your areas. There's no first floor GLA. That does not exist. It's level 1 above grade finished. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Well, I appreciate your extra time. I know we went long on this, and we really appreciate your feedback. And like I said, we had over 2,000 people. I know not everybody could get in. We were streaming it on our YouTube. We will be sending out a recording of this full thing to everyone, so you can watch that if you want to go back and cover some of the things that Joel covered. So thank you so much to Joel and Cotality for putting this on with us.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
Take care.
All right. And it should pop you into the green.